No time to relax on the drive to search and destroy mosquito breeding sites. Prevention is better than cure, as old-time people would say. So let's do our part to reduce the Aedes aegypti mosquito population. Thanks for making it Jamaica Magazine. I'm Adrian Atkinson, your host. Coming up in the show, the Education Ministry is ensuring no child is left behind, and farmers are being trained to build resilience and increase production. Today's show has a lot in store for you, including this message.
Did you know that since we started our Ease Up on the Energy campaign, that electricity use in government buildings has dropped by around 4,200 kilowatt hours per building per month? We retrofitted and replaced old, inefficient air conditioning units with new energy-efficient models. That saved approximately $123 million for the government of Jamaica. What are you waiting for? I'm Hilary Alexander, asking all Jamaicans to join us and ease up on the energy. Ease up on the energy. Ease up on the energy.
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Thursday, April 12. The zones of special operations in Mount Salem and Denham Town have been extended for an additional 60 days. Parliament's approval on Wednesday marked the third extension for Denham Town, which was declared a zone on October 17, and the fourth for Mount Salem, which became a zone on September 1 last year.
This extension is a necessary enabler to transform the communities through the intensified delivery of social services, which have already commenced but must be much further realized, as well as giving the state the ability to continue to take back full control of the domain.
The Prime Minister told the House that living conditions in both zones was being improved through zinc fence removal and upgrades to the water, sewerage, and road networks. The Heart Trust and Hope program are also providing skills training and parenting classes for residents. In addition, entrepreneurship support is being given to micro and small businesses, and a Neighborhood Watch and Community Youth Group program are underway. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark says gains made under the IMF Precautionary Standby Agreement must be used as a means of breaking recurring cycles of borrowing for the country. He says Jamaica's exit from program engagements with the IMF over previous years were short-lived, but insists that the conclusion of the current agreement must be viewed differently.
It has to be our ambition that when we conclude with the IMF, this time at the end of the precautionary standby arrangement, we avoid reversal and instead manage our affairs in a disciplined and thoughtful way, so that our exit from a program relationship with the IMF is sustained over time with no need to return.
Dr. Clark was speaking on Wednesday at the opening ceremony for the 10th PIOJ-IDB Labor Market Forum. He says that to ensure sustainability in the post-IMF era, government will continue to pursue policies and programs to drive economic independence. Jamaica has not accessed any of the approved $1.64 billion under the three-year IMF Precautionary Standby Agreement. The program comes to an end in 2019. Government will be spending $150 million to upgrade market facilities island-wide. Local Government Minister Desmond McKenzie has revealed that Trelawney will benefit from two. Work is to start on the Clarkstown market by month-end at a cost of $17 million, while $10 million has been allocated to complete the new Falmouth market by the end of April. In addition, upgrades to the Black River Market in St. Elizabeth will be completed at a cost of $15 million. Minister McKenzie was speaking at the recent signing ceremony for the renovation of the Port Maria Market, which will be upgraded at a cost of $56 million.
No significant work has been undertaken over the last 5 years on our public markets, and most of our markets are in a deplorable condition. These markets are not conducive for vending or for persons to ply their trade.
He encouraged the local authorities and vendors to take care of the improved facilities that will be provided. The Ministry of Education is reporting that there has been an increase in mathematics performances, resulting from the enhancement of the math program in 2012. According to a report made by the National Mathematics Coordinator, Dr. Tamika Benjamin, last year's Grade 4 mastery rate was 67.5%, a jump from 52% in 2012. The GSAT mastery also improved, as did CSEC math pass rates.
One of the other indicators that we're noticing with the CSEC exam is an increase in the sitting, in the number of students actually sitting exams, which means that that increase is twofold. We have more students sitting and more students passing.
Dr. Benjamin was speaking at a JIS think tank recently. The report comes just in time for the 2018 staging of National Mathematics Week, April 15 to 20. The Child Protection and Family Services Agency, CPFSA, is undergoing a rebranding process to focus more on the protection and family aspects of its work. As part of that rebranding, the agency's CEO, Rosalie Gage-Gray, says a child protection jingle competition will be launched soon. The CPFSA will also launch a booklet titled Pediatric Pulse during May.
This is a booklet that's developed by our serious case review panel that will assist caregivers to detect and respond in a timely manner to all medical and other therapeutic needs of the children.
Mrs. Gage-Gray was addressing the recent launch of Child Month 2018. The theme for this May is Affirm Me. It charges parents and others to acknowledge, befriend, favor, influence positively, respect, and motivate children.
This theme emerged from a call from our children to recognize and validate their worth.
This year's Child Month activities include a national church service and a National Day of Prayer and Fasting. Children's Day activities will be simultaneously held in Halfway Tree, downtown Kingston, and Montego Bay on May 18. And the National Child Month Committee is partnering with the Jamaica Fire Brigade on its Jamaica's Future is on Fire, Make We Fix It campaign. Their aim is to get children to acknowledge fire safety practices and share the knowledge with friends and families. There will also be activities outside of the month, including the Youth Outstanding Academic Achievement Award ceremony on June 27 and the Youth Forum on November 2. And finally, the application deadline for the Hope Youth Summer Work Program has been extended to April 27. It offers 3 weeks of work experience and core skills training to 14,000 young people aged 17 to 29 years old. In addition to completing an application form, persons are required to submit copies of their birth certificate, TRN and NIS cards, government-issued or school identification card, resume, and proof of qualification. Interested individuals should download the application form at heart-nta.org or nysjamaica.org. The completed forms should be submitted to any Heart Trust NTA, Jamaica Foundation for Lifelong Learning, or National Youth Service Office. Successful applicants will be employed during the months of June, July, and August. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.
This is the Aedes aegypti mosquito that spreads the Zika, chikungunya, and dengue viruses. Search for its breeding sites and destroy them. A message from the Ministry of Health.
You remember Chick V and Zik V and the pain and suffering many of us went through? We don't want to go back there, right? Well, that's why we must continue to look for and destroy those mosquito breeding sites around us. And even when there is not much rainfall, there is still some level of water collection from what we call night dew. So just in case you don't remember some of the places to look, here's a reminder.
Mosquitoes are undoubtedly annoying, with their irritating sound and stinging bites. But there are more compelling reasons we'd rather not have them around. Several species are carriers of diseases and a threat to human health. Of most significance to Jamaica is the Aedes aegypti mosquito, known to transmit dengue fever, chikungunya, yellow fever, and the Zika virus. Only female mosquitoes bite, doing so to get the blood they need for egg production. And therefore, only female mosquitoes transmit these viruses.
The Aedes aegypti mosquito is what we call a timid feeder. So she's easily disturbed when feeding. It means that in one night, she may feed on several persons before she takes her complete blood meal. Each time she feeds, she secretes that substance. And in the secretion of the substance, the pathogen is passed on. So in one night, one female Aedes aegypti mosquito is able to infect more than one person.
The female Aedes aegypti mosquito is a prolific breeder.
One female Aedes aegypti mosquito is able to lay up to 200 eggs each time she lays her eggs. So one mosquito can populate an entire area.
The lifespan of the mosquito is around 3 weeks, and the entire cycle from egg to adult can occur in as little as 7 to 8 days. Female mosquitoes are ready to mate within a few hours after reaching their adult stage, and males are usually ready within 24 hours.
This mosquito prefers cleaner waters. For the female mosquitoes, she will lay her eggs in water, and for the Aedes, it will be water which is in and around the household.
So while there are a number of things we can and should do to prevent being bitten, the most effective way to prevent the spread of diseases by these mosquitoes is to prevent their breeding.
The Aedes aegypti mosquito is a mosquito that breeds in a containerized environment. They do not breed in rivers and drains, but they breed in containers that can be found in and around where persons dwell. So come with us and let us show you some of those breeding sites. This is a typical dish drainer that we find in most homes. And under most dish drainer is a tray that collects the water that comes off the dishes. And believe it or not, we have found breeding in several homes in these dish drainers. Yes. You can see that we have water that has settled. If this water does not evaporate quickly, it can lend itself to the breeding of the Aedes aegypti mosquito. So you not only have to empty the dish drainer, but you have to scrub to remove those eggs. This is the typical saucer that we will find under a plant. The rain has recently fallen, it has collected water, and right now it is steaming with the Aedes aegypti mosquito. Do you have some of these in your home? Aedes aegypti prefers water that is a little bit on the cleaner side, and it's found in a shaded environment. So what should we do with something like this? It's quite simple. You need to throw away the water. And if these containers are not being used, you have to keep them turned down so they're not able to collect water. If you have them under your plants, we ask that you bore holes in them so that it will not collect water. Do you have these in your homes? We find these in a lot of hotels and business places. And we ask those persons, check these bird baths or any ornamental things like these you have in your garden to ensure that they are not breeding the Aedes aegypti mosquito. There are things like this thrown down in person's backyard. Old equipment, old furniture, old fixtures that are taken from homes, especially during construction. These are also able to hold water. And if they're holding water and sit for a while in the environment, they will also breed mosquitoes. And so we have found breeding in wheelbarrows, in old refrigerator, in old sinks such as this one. And we ask persons, if you're throwing out these, please ensure that they are positioned in such a way that they will not collect water.
Many persons, when they do have their drums, most times drums do not have any covers. So there is a mesh cover which is so designed to replace the missing covers. It is lightweight, and what we do is just simply slip it over, and the mesh is so designed mosquitoes will not be able to go through this mesh to get to the water. So this is the ideal way. One of the benefits also of this mesh is that even when rain does fall, water will go right through it. This is a typical example where this we have is a plastic drum, and we have a metal cover here which is not designed for this. Whilst in some practice the intent is good, There may be occasions in which it does not fit or sit properly, and as a result you still have openings where mosquitoes can go right through and breed.
The mosquito is breeding right there in some very small places right around where you live. What is the habit we want you to develop? Once every week, search for and destroy the breeding sites of the Aedes aegypti mosquito.
Don't make diseases spread. Wash your hands with soap and water instead. Wash them regular or use a hand sanitizer. Make sure the germs them dead. Touching your eyes or your mouth or your nose. Wash your hands before you do things like those. After you use the bathroom before preparing food, come on, wash your hand them clean.
They're tiny creatures with deadly bites and a big appetite, devouring acres of farm produce in minutes. To control the outbreak of these parasites, the Agriculture Ministry has been working with various agencies to build the sector's resistance to the beet armyworm. Through training, farmers are now better able to manage their fields.
Empowering farmers through training so they can take decisive action and become part of the solution process to issues affecting agriculture. The Ministry of Agriculture has been working towards this objective through strategic partnerships. And the results? Growing success in critical areas, such as the crucial fight against the dreaded beet armyworm. Periodic outbreaks of the beet armyworm have hurt St. Elizabeth farmers since the 1990s. In 2009, a dreadful attack ravaged acres of crops in South St. Elizabeth. And when it was all over in 2011, the livelihood of many farmers had been destroyed.
I have to go through the whole field, like how you see this field, go through it and cut off everything. Everything, and destroy it. Because if you don't destroy it, what gonna happen is like when you cover the beet armyworm, they stay under there and then they turn into mud. The mud them come back, fly out, and then they come back and come re-infest.
More active in warm climate, the beet armyworm feeds on the leaves and can strip the plants. They also attack buds and new growth on plants, which prevent flowers from opening, new leaves from sprouting, and vegetables from developing. The most recent outbreak in 2012 resulted in the destruction of some 45 hectares of crops, including scallion, pepper, and onion, valued at approximately $31 million. So the ministry took action in October 2012, launching the Strengthening a National Beet Armyworm Program. With funding from the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, to the tune of $213,000, farmers in St. Elizabeth were taught how to better manage the pest.
The training was very important because we learned things that we never have any idea what was going on. I think I prepare enough. I have much understanding what to do and what to look for.
The training was carried out by the Jamaica Rural Economy and Ecosystems Adapting to Climate Change JAREACH project. It was done under the Farmer Field School with technical assistance from the United States Agency for International Development. In August 2013, 22 farmers and 8 extension officers of the Rural Agricultural Development Authority, RADA, graduated as certified integrated pest management facilitators. They, along with other trained colleagues, will now go on to train over 150 farmers across Jamaica.
Their role is to actually go and establish new schools or other schools within the various communities that they are from.
You have some farmer who go in this field and then just weed out the bush here. Just weed the bush here and them leave and them gone. Them not really find 2 leaf and pick them and crush them, destroy it. Them leave it. That is not the way, because if you leave them there, they're gonna manifest themselves.
This knowledge base is equipping farmers with the skills needed to manage their own field and, in the long run, become experts in the fight against the beet armyworm and other threats.
It feels good and very important. You know, as a farmer, like a small farmer, and then you learn a lot of things. You feel good to know that you learn something, so you can teach back somebody what you learn.
Trained RADA facilitators will also mentor these farmers and guide them in their new role as local community agents of change.
Our mandate of such is to actually monitor and assist these farmers in enabling to deliver the information in a way that it is acceptable and true to the farmer field school methodology.
The work that you all did and the learning by doing approach, I think, and I have found, is the best way that you can take a methodology that's evolved and designed in a lab or in a classroom, but until it's in the field, as we just heard, until it's actually conveyed to the farmers, it will do no good and it will change no harvest practices.
With increased production in agri-parks across the island, finding a present and lasting solution to the beet armyworm is even more important to sustaining growth in the sector.
It's a great feeling to be a part of the solution that the ministry has embarked on to actually assist the farmers in controlling or managing the beet armyworm.
The Ministry of Agriculture, building resilient farmers to grow the sector with knowledge and skill, sharing information and managing pest invasions, protecting their livelihood and securing the growth of a nation.
No child must be left behind, a firm position by the government. As a result, the Ministry of Education has been strengthening programs and policies in the sector to reach all. As we observe Autism Awareness Month, let's look at how the ministry is facilitating learning among children with autism.
There's much more to educating our children than confining them to textbooks or curricula. Every child has their learning style, and sometimes it's made difficult when it's compounded with a learning disorder. Hello, I'm Carrie Ann Smith. The number of diagnosed cases of autism in Jamaica is on the increase, and the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information is tasked with the responsibility of ensuring that provisions are in place to facilitate the learning of these students. With me is Acting Assistant Chief Education Officer in the Special Education Unit in the Ministry, Mrs. Ann Newman. Welcome.
Thank you, Carrie.
All right, so let's get into it. What are the numbers as it relates to the increase in autism in schools?
Okay. The Center for Disease Control in the United States suggests that there is a ratio of 1 in every 6 to 8 births. When that is applied to a Jamaican birth rate in Jamaica, it means that as many as 500 odd students or children could be born with autism.
Okay.
And it is skewed towards boys, so the ratio is 4 to 1.
All right, before we even get into exploring the issue, what is autism?
Autism spectrum disorder is a developmental disorder that's usually diagnosed by age 4. Children with autism or who are on the spectrum usually manifest some disorders in communication, social disorders, and very often have behavioral disorders.
So how is the ministry handling the cases in schools?
Well, for the cases that come to our attention, because remember that we now have a passbook that's monitored in the Early Childhood Commission years. So students coming over to main ministry would travel with their passbook, and hopefully by that time, at age 6, they would have been diagnosed. Unfortunately, some students have fell through the cracks and are not diagnosed as early. So once they're brought to our attention and there is a diagnosis, then we can do the appropriate placement. Remember I said it's a spectrum disorder, so some children have a mild case and some children more moderate or severe. Students who are on the spectrum need different interventions. So depending on the severity of the diagnosis, whether it's mild, moderate or severe, they are placed in the appropriate settings. Students with mild autism usually are educated in the mainstream, whereas others who are severe or in the moderate range are educated in our special schools.
Okay, so it's important for them to be diagnosed early.
Critical, critical, critical. Early diagnosis and intervention is the key to the measure of success we have.
Right, so now that you're talking, it seems to me it's a holistic approach, because parents need to ensure that if it is that they're seeing any of these signs, that they get their children tested.
Parents need to remember that they're usually their child's first teacher, and they need to follow their instinct, and wherever they have reason to be suspicious that something could not be quite so right, it is their responsibility to seek professional advice and assistance.
All right. So what are the programs or intervention strategies that are in place to ensure that these children are not lost in the system?
Okay, again, we go back to early intervention. Right. Once students are diagnosed, then it is the responsibility of the parents, and if they're in a school program, early childhood, or wherever they may be on the continuum, it is the responsibility of the system to make the appropriate referrals. Persons can come to ministry at any time, the special education unit, for us to advise and help with placement of students.
I know that the ministry promotes an inclusive, integrated system. Are the schools prepared for this?
There is some measure of preparedness. Since 2005, all teachers in Teachers College were exposed to an introductory course in exceptionalities. This course really is just a cursory course, and it means that teachers in the regular system should be able to detect and have reasons to suspect that if a child is not developing along the normal path, and suggest to parents that they have the child assessed. Once the assessment is done and the diagnosis is made, you'll get a fulsome report that gives recommendations as to the way where the child should be educated and programs that the child will need, support programs that the child will need. In addition to the training of teachers, we now have special needs coordinators who work with the regular schools that will develop and present workshops depending on the needs in the school. And those children who are in the mainstream can be educated by specially trained special educators in pull-out classes or self-contained classes.
Okay, and how should we treat these children? You know, many times we label them as just rude, out of order. How should we even react to them?
Well, first of all, it needs an understanding. And sometimes we are not as sympathetic as we ought to be. But the first thing is, if we give unconditional love, then we will see that children who may act outside of what we consider the norm are actually having some difficulty. And we need to just be empathetic to their parents, not label them.
Thank you so much. But before we go, can you just leave us with a few tips, parents, teachers, as to how we can deal with children with autism?
I can't overemphasize. Early intervention is the best. And I would also recommend to parents, once a child has been diagnosed to be on the spectrum, that they join a support group. There's a Jamaica Autism support group, and just to get feedback and support from other parents who are in a similar situation cuts the journey in half. And to teachers, seek more information. There's always, as a professional, we always need to develop and grow. There's a lot of information on the net. Seek more information. It will make you a better professional.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Newman.
My pleasure.
We have come to the end of our show, but certainly not the end of our connection. Just click on our website, jis.gov.jm, and while you're online, send us your feedback to jamaicamagazine@jis.gov.jm or via tweet @JISnews. Do join us again tomorrow for another informative program. On behalf of the entire production crew, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Do take care.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.